Hello again. My name's Ani. I'm back. I'm not dead. I just got busy. Sorry. Um, but today's gonna be a short one. This has just been on my mind a little bit. I own a lot of crosses. But I'm not personally religious. I also work at a church, but I'm not religious. So I wanted to talk about why the hell do I like crosses so much? And why do I have so much, like, religious imagery in my space? Just because it's a question I get a lot. But I want to show you my crosses that I found while I talk about it. Here's one. I don't know when I made this. I grew up, from K3, which was basically like babysitting while my parents worked. I'd go to K3. I grew up in like a Lutheran school, and K3, I was there for probably only a few days. I don't think I was there for a long time. But then like K4 through, I think I was there until second grade. I was in that religious school. I'm pretty sure that's when I made this, because I can't think of any other time I would make this. But yeah, I grew up in a religious school. It's Lutheran. The like chill Lutheran. I forget which one that is. But yeah, I grew up there. My family's religious. Most of the people in my community are religious just because it's the nature of kind of living in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I really started collecting crosses recently because I was never super into. This is another one. It has my name on it. I was never heavy into religion. Even growing up with it, I was never like, you must love Jesus. Except for one time that I can think of. And that one time was, I was at my cousin's house, and me being probably 5, I think I was 5. Me being 5, I was pretty excited about this Jesus guy. So I sat her down and I was like, have you heard of this guy? Because, like, when you're growing up and you're being taught about a guy who can make people not be blind and can, like, cure crazy illnesses, and, like, you're like, that's fucking crazy. I love this guy. So, yeah, I was accidentally indoctrinating people into Lutheran Christianity. But other than that, I can't really think of a time where I was, like, really big into religion, except for now. I'm still not religious. I'm very atheist. But this one's kind of cool. I like the colors on this one. But yeah, I grew up indoctrinated into the church, and was never really big into it, but literally, because I grew up in a religious school, I would have to, like, learn Bible passages and have to learn, like, people in the Bible and, like, that sort of thing. So I know a lot about it. Here's another one. I remember making this one, actually. I was in second grade, and I cooked this one up. So really what I want to talk about is my experience in the church. Nothing really bad. Lutherans are a pretty chill group of people. I'm really blessed to not be part of a community that's like Catholic or Baptist, because they are way more hardcore than a Lutheran ever would be. At least that's what I've been told. I could be wrong. But, yeah, I mean, my family's very religious, and they don't know that I'm not religious. So I keep it on the down low, which is why buying all these crosses makes sense, because it makes me look normal. That's not why I buy them, but I bought 2 new ones, which I'm gonna show in a second. But I gotta keep my brain on track. I grew up in this religious school. I remember that this school was pretty strict. At least one of them was. My second grade teacher was pretty strict. Because I remember I hated doing memorization work. And one of the things we had to do, I think it was every day or maybe a few times a week, we had to take a little, like, mini Bible home. And we had to memorize one of the verses. And then in the morning, the next day, we would have to recite it to the teacher. And I didn't want to do that because I wanted to go home and play Anal Jam. So I would very, like, closely listen to people reciting them to her. And I just copied what they said. And then she eventually caught on to me doing that. But like, she called me out, like, she called my parents, like, I was like, lady, I'm still doing the work, I'm just not doing it at home. But, she was very upset that I was doing that for some reason. That's one of my very prominent, memories of that school. She was so petty. I don't think she liked me at all, and I'm not sure why. She loved my brother, though. She also tried to tell me that I was rolling my eyes at her when I didn't even know what that meant. Because I was, 8? So she's like, stop rolling your eyes at me. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So, yeah. That's really all I remember from that school. Other than, like, I remember Wednesdays were like church day, where you'd, like, have to go sit in the pews and talk about the Bible for a class. Otherwise, we just had church day or like church time in the classroom. There's a lot of weird noises. Yeah, and then I left that school. I went to kind of a worse district. It's been getting worse, I'm pretty sure, but it was pretty bad when I was there. Not religious. And that was the first time I really got to experience, like, kids who were really rambunctious, because, like, rambunctious is such a good word. Sorry, I got it wrong. But it was the first time I experienced kids, like, actively disobeying an adult. Sorry, I left my notifications on because I'm a dumbass. But, like, for me, who grew up in this, like, super strict environment, this was crazy to me. Like, I didn't even start swearing until I was, like, 17. So this was wild to me, like, having such, like, blatant disrespect for teachers and your parents, and I was like, what the hell are we doing? But I eventually, when I was 13, 14, I had to go to confirmation, which if you're not into the church, if you're, like, atheist and have never heard of this before, confirmation is, at least in the Lutheran faith, this is literally all I know, at least in the Lutheran faith, it's like, being brought into your church as a member through, like, you like, learn about the Bible and then you take a test, and then there's, like, a whole service for people getting confirmed, like, yes, you are a Lutheran. That's what confirmation is. But I had to go to confirmation, and me at 14 was very much alternative. I was very much, like, I was just very different. I always have been. But I remember I'd sit in those dang classes, and I'd have, like, instead of, now I have, like, blonde underneath, but, I used to have, like, half of my head, like, not the roots, but everything else was bright pink. Like, hot, hot pink when I was 14. And, stood out a little bit in, like, a very Christian setting, you know? So, and I was very, like, I wasn't bitchy, but I was very quiet, and people didn't know really how to interact with, an alternative person. So, I didn't really get to talk to a ton of people, but I was very friendly. Like, I'd always be friendly. But my classmates, I guess, and the teachers never really knew how to interact with me. So I would just, like, kind of sit there and just hang out. And I also, like, wasn't religious at this point. I like, left the church, like, I stopped taking any Bible stuff to heart when I was probably 12. So I was just kind of over it at that point. I was just like, I don't want to be here. But I didn't tell anybody because my family's very religious. So, yes. That's about all I remember for, like, my personal experience in the church. Nothing bad. It's just, like, I was different and I was kind of treated different because I was different. And that's about it. Nowadays, I'm very much back into religious imagery because I never fully left liking the imagery side. I always thought it was pretty cool. Mostly like more Catholic stuff, because Lutherans we don't have a ton, you know, like they don't have a ton. But I always liked the imagery aspect of it, and I listen to Ethel Cain, which, if you don't know Ethel Cain, she's very big into Southern Baptist, like, she's a storytelling artist who talks about a young woman growing up in the Baptist faith in the South. So she really got me back into religious imagery and being like, oh yeah, I remember how much I like this. So thanks. Thanks, Ethel. Love you. But, I started picking up crosses and such again because of her. So, I really like this stuff now. And I also started working at a church, which also, I'm futzing with it, so I should show you. I started working at a church again. So I'm like, I see crosses all the time. Yay! Here's one. This is one I picked up from Goodwill. It's pretty awesome. It has hands. And it's got a little hanger thing on it. I want to hang these up. I just don't know where. Anyway, I brought up Ethel Cain because she mentioned at a point that, like, she's not religious. She left the church a while ago, but she's still into this imagery because to her it is like a horror concept. And I'm like, exactly. Like, she's able to put things in words that I'm not really able to put things in words. But she was like, yeah, this is like a horror concept to me. Like, devoting your life to God, that's horrifying, you know? And I'm like, fuck, that, exactly. Like, that fucking rules. So, that's why I collect crosses. Because it's very much like, when you think about it in that mindset, it's like, people devote their entire lives, every single aspect of it, to this thing they don't know is real. Or not. And then you think back on history and how many things that influenced, and it's like, kind of awesome. Here's another one. This one I love. It says, Inri? I don't know. It's Latin. I don't speak Latin. But it's like, it means Jesus in Latin, or like the Holy King, or, you know, whatever. And he's bleeding from his little chest, because the story of him on the cross, I mean, there's a pretty well-known story, but part of it was like his boob was pierced by a spear, so that's why that's there. He also, like, asked for water at one point, and they put a sponge in his mouth with vinegar or something. Them Romans, dude, they're fucking nuts. But yeah, I really like this one too. It has a little hole in the back to be hung too. I just don't know where to put it. I might put it up here somewhere. I don't know yet though. But yeah, I found both of them at Goodwill on the same day. So I was like, dude, fuck yeah. 2 crosses, double whammy. But yeah, I'm super into this stuff again. I have been for a while. I should make a whole nother video about my psychosis. Because that kind of involved Christianity, just as a very low undercurrent, but I should bring that up at some time. Because that's another thing I could dig into, because it's very interesting. But yeah, religious stuff has always been very cool to me. I went to Germany and Austria last year, and we went to a few chapels and churches and stuff, and they were Catholic, and just looking at all those little pieces of stuff, little stuffs in those churches, and all the stained glass and all that fun stuff was so cool. I was stimming. But yeah. Too long, didn't watch. I grew up in the church, left intellectually when I was probably 12. But I still kind of dig the whole thing. Just because it is a horrifying concept. But because of that, I think it's very cool, and I super dig it. I also have my screensaver is just, well, it's dinosaurs, because I also love dinosaurs, but it's also just a bunch of fucking crosses. And it fucking rules. So, yeah. That's my little shebang on that. Got any questions, let me know. I kind of just rambled. I didn't have anything planned for this. But yeah, I'm not dead. I got busy doing audio work, whatever. Doing gig work, whatever. Nice to see you again. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Okay, bye.